I'm excited to go at it with a different opponent, Sam still said, a nameless opponent and a faceless opponent. So Coach Dan Quinn has decided to do something that's going to test the limits of these players and really show who wants it and who's about that life. Let's talk about it.
Shout out to Juan Gotti Talking Sports. You know what it is. Shout out Juan Gotti Talking Sports.
The way that we live is not for everybody, man.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
How do you think the rest of Jaden Daniels' career is going to go? If we're, 6, 7 games into Jaden Daniels' career and he's already milking injuries? Like,
stop saying my name, you dick riding bastard. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, and shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's no beginner, she's confident.
So tomorrow, the Washington Commanders have a huge, and I mean huge, training camp practice, as tomorrow is the first time that I've really witnessed anything such here in Washington, is the Burg and Gold scrimmage. And I know what you're thinking, Juan, this is normally what they do in training camp anyway. How is this different? Well, wrong. As per Dan Quinn, he says treat this like a joint practice, as today was kind of like a walkthrough prior to the game being played tomorrow, and I expect it to go down. As you got Mikey Sanders still barking back at the trash talk of the offensive side of the ball. It's really about to get crazy tomorrow. We're back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Juan Gotti Command Extra post-game show is back for yet another season. Following each and every Washington Commanders game, call into the number 240-804-7327 to have your voice heard on the show. Win, lose, or draw, happy, upset, or mad, make sure you call into that number, because I want to hear from you after every single game. We got players such as Mikey saying, I can't wait to go against a different opponent, a nameless opponent and a faceless opponent. And don't forget, he's talking about his teammates, but that's how real this is about to get tomorrow. And this is the type of training camp that I am accustomed to in terms of how football is played, right? Like, I get it, it's the NFL, and for most importantly, I hope for no injuries, but this is what I think of when I think of a grueling summer, of when I think of a hard practice. Remember, back in the day, in the old days, they did 2-a-days for training camp practices. I think this is the closest that this new generation of football players is going to get tomorrow in terms of something like that. You know, in football, and again, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I played ball like at the highest level or anything like that, right? But for any sport for that matter, because I was a baseball guy in terms of playing IRL, when you scrimmage your team, of course you are a team at the end of the day, so you got the best interest of the heart in terms of health and whatnot, but you're trying to beat their tail, right? You know what I mean? Like, of course, I in terms of my experience, right, I'm a left-handed hitter, so I'm limited in the field, but I'm dangerous in that box. And anytime I get up there, I want to drive that ball through a gap and hit nothing less than a double off of my teammate, who is the pitcher, of course, right? But it's practice. It's going to make both of us better. But you got to believe that he wants to strike me out just as bad as if he was playing against another school or another team. You feel me? And that's how tomorrow is going to be. And Dan Quinn purposely did this. He did this exact thing because of how major the gap is between the game between Washington and Cincinnati. It's a 10-day gap, truly. We don't play until next Monday, right? And today is Monday, so a week from now. And I love this approach. I think also what prompted this was how poor we played in that preseason game versus the New England Patriots. I told you guys, I felt like Dan Quinn was truly pissed. As you seen in his press conference, he says, I don't mind losing. Losing is a part of the sport. Losing is a part of the game. But when you get absolutely destroyed, outplayed, and have discipline issues, that's what burns my tail. He used, obviously, a much more vulgar term, but he was pissed. Why do you think they tried out 14 different players. Why do you think Dominique Hampton is no longer here in Washington anymore after just being drafted from this organization a year prior? It's because they're looking for competition. They're looking for who wants it bad enough. So that's what tomorrow is all about. But let's get an even more deep look as we have insider Zach Selby with a great article that's describing what tomorrow is going to look like and what truly is going down. So he says the Washington Commanders are near the halfway point of training camp, and head coach Dan Quinn is adding a wrinkle to the schedule. With about 10 days between the first preseason game against the New England Patriots and their next matchup, a home game against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Commanders will be running a inter-squad scrimmage during Tuesday's practice with members of the offense and defense forming two teams. Dubbed the Burgundy and Gold game, the coaches want to push the envelope on promoting competition within their roster. Quote, in your mind, think of this as a joint practice. So think of this as the offense being the Commanders and the defense being the New England Patriots, or the Baltimore Ravens, who we have a joint practice with, or defense, Commanders, defense. Think of the offense as New England's offense. Think of that as being Drake May. Think of that being Lamar Jackson, as again we have a bout with them in a few weeks. That's how Dan Quinn wants to approach this. Continuing on, he says the practice will consist of the Burgundy and Gold teams competition and competing in situational drills. The team will go through a second as well as fourth quarter situations and give players different matchups that they haven't seen up until this point in camp. The team which will be on different sidelines, aren't just limited to players. Coaches, trainers, equipment staff, and others were also designated to different teams. Stop me if you heard that before. Right? At least not here in Washington. I know other teams may have done this, right? They may be other teams that have done this in the past, or they plan on doing this in the future. But right now, this is the first time that Washington's ever done it, and this is the first time that I'm hearing of it done this year thus far in camp. Again, I'm not saying this we just invented this, but I haven't heard no other team doing it. Continuing on, the quote from Dan Quinn says, part of it is developing leaders. Quinn said there will be different play callers, and we're going through it as such. So that's interesting. Quinn first got the idea of the scrimmage earlier this year when he noticed that it was a sizable gap between the Patriots and Bengals preseason game. He wanted to provide the players with a break from the monetary and mono of training camp and believe the exercise will be provided a fun shake-up to how practice has been run before going into their preparation for the Bengals game on August 18th. Now, I am going to be honest with you, and this is speaking solely from my eyes and what I've seen the 3 times that I went to training camp. Training camp is not what I expected. In terms of the competition, in terms of how hard they practice, bro, I swear to you, it feels like they practice for 30 minutes. I swear, bro. It feels like the travel there is longer than the practice itself. And I know that may not be a shocker, but again, comparing it to back in the day, these are players that practice for 2 times a day for hours. And not to say that you want them beating the hell out of each other and injuring them. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is Dan Quinn probably realizes how lackadaisical training camp truly has been. And maybe that's a reason why he decided to do this as well. Again, of course, he had this probably planned out prior to training camp starting. But again, I think what initiated it is the fact that we played that poorly in New England. I fully expect this team to come out guns is blazing versus Cincinnati. And don't forget, these are Cincinnati starters as well. So it's going to be a fun matchup. It's going to be a fun matchup, but it wouldn't surprise me if this was treated as such as week 1 in terms of how we look come Monday night versus the Cincinnati Bengals. But continuing on, he says this. For the coaches, Quinn wants to show them that the team is going to develop them into interesting ways that will change them forever. They feel good about their success and their succession plans for when their coaches move on to other jobs, and the best way to do it is by putting them in real situations on the sideline and provide them with problems to solve on their own. This is massive. I wish I was able to go to this practice tomorrow. I know this is about to be lit. So he's not only seeing the competition from the players, but he's also helping out his coaches prepare them for when they have to go to other jobs and promoted to elsewhere, from coordinators to head coaches to player personnel to coordinator. Like, he's helping out his coaches, man. Dan Quinn is such a genius, man. Such a genius, genuine guy. Doing all this to help out his team, and not just his players, but his coaches too. And his coaches, I guarantee you, whenever they move on, they're gonna see this and think of this and go back to this. It's gonna be a key memory for a lot of these coaches and players tomorrow. It is. They're gonna sit back 3-4 years from now when they're in their better spot or a promotion, perhaps, and say, what was a key moment in your coaching career or player career? And you know what they're gonna say? Man, it was there in Washington when I was with Coach Quinn and we did this inter-squad matchup. It felt like a real game. Man, this is gonna be lit. I can't wait to hear the updates for tomorrow. Continuing on, though, Quinn says, for the players, Quinn said it all goes back to competition. Well, not Quinn said, but Zach Selby said. They already have been trash talking each other, and trash talk has been exchanged by both teams. Quote, it is at an all-time high right now, said defensive tackle Deron Payne, members of the GOAT team. You know how those guys get, especially 5, quarterback Jaden Daniels, and all them offensive guys. So it's funny because JD5 is an introvert, man, but in between them lines, and he gonna talk his trash, man. He gonna talk his trash. He says most of the trash talk, according to the GOAT team, which mostly consists of the starting defense, has been from the starting offense in the Burgundy team. Daniels has been leading the charge. Although Payne went on to say this isn't much different from any other day. The GOAT team seems determined to block out the negative energy. Quote, all I gotta say is you don't trash talk to your opponents, cornerback Mikey Sanders still said when asked about the back and forth between the teams. So we'll see tomorrow. Mikey trying to get under the skin of the offensive side of the ball, huh? Say, hey, Fi, you don't normally talk like this to the opponents, but you want to talk like this to us? I bet that. Uh-oh. Might be waking up a beast. But I love that competition because both are beasts, and they are best friends on the team, in my opinion, and they know how to get under each other's skin, but it's going to be for the best, as it's going to bring the best out of them. But continuing on, though, it says, and as much as the GOAT team is trying to back away from the banter, they are being serious about the scrimmage. I'm excited to go at it with a different opponent, Sanders still said, a nameless opponent and a faceless opponent. So treating the offense like they're nothing, huh? Okay. Quinn said the scrimmage will be an important moment for Commanders. Yes, it will be fun, but it also is another chance for the staff to evaluate the roster with different matchups and situations they may have not seen before. Then it's a mad dash to the finish of camp with 2 preseason games and the joint practice with the Baltimore Ravens before making their final roster decisions. For now, the Commanders only need to worry about one thing, and that's compete to the best of their ability. Quote, it is definitely a pretty cool thing, said rookie wide receiver and member of the Burgundy team, Jalen Lane, just bringing in a different type of energy. You got brotherhood and people trash talking. It helps build chemistry. It's kind of fun, and I'm excited for it. So tomorrow, woo! It's going to be a big day, y'all. Make sure y'all got them post notifications on for your boy, as I'm going to bring you back everything that I get from training camp, Bergen Gold scrimmage, man. It's going to be lit. I cannot wait to see how this turns out, and this may ultimately be the turning point for not just the preseason, but ultimately maybe our season. Again, we know the Super Bowl winning starts in the off season. It starts in training camp. It starts with moments like these. When you think about hoisting them Lombardi's trophies or Lombardi trophy in February, you go back to key days in August. August, what you do in the summertime, is what prepares you for an opportunity to go play in big games like the Super Bowl. But if you don't prepare like it's the Super Bowl in August, you can kiss the real thing goodbye. And I think that's what Dan Quinn's message truly is to the team. And I think that's how they're going to handle it. I pray that nobody gets hurt. All what's most important here is nobody gets hurt. Yes, I'm all for the competition. I'm all for the trash talk. And I'm praying that everyone comes out of this unscathed and healthy. That being said, as always, being boy Juan Gotti, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 11,000 subscribers, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you haven't reached that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. You have a blessed one. Stay safe. Be easy out there.
Ballin' like I'm Deshaun, throw the bomb, G. That's IG, my jersey never seen a line.